And welcome to the Alouettes Flightdeck podcast dedicated to Montreal Alouettes football, presented by our good friends over at SportBuff, where if you use the promo code ALSFlightdeck10 at checkout, you will save 10% off your entire order. So head over to sportbuffshop.com, use the code, save 10%, get some great merch, and support local. I'm Tim Capper. You can find me on X at Repact. That's REPPACT.
Hey, this is Cliffy D. You can also find me on X. Shoot me a follow over at Cliffy D.
This is probably, we've had hard shows before to do in the past, right? Usually after a bad loss or the Owls have been eliminated or something like that. And I'm trying to think of what we've done the years past because, this is it's our Thanksgiving show, Canadian Thanksgiving show. Don't want to,
Yes.
I want to make that clear for our US listeners.
Yeah, who are going, what the hell are you talking about? That's not for 6 weeks. I'm like,
Yeah.
technically for you, but for us, where God pays attention, it's this weekend.
That's right. Well, what to blow their minds even more is telling them that Halloween is on June 6th.
Right.
Canaween. I mean, we have to get that in first. I mean, Canada Day is first. Canaween. It's a thing. So no, Halloween is not in June. But it's usually one of our tougher shows because when we're doing it, as we're doing this week, there really isn't that much news to talk about because the Owls haven't started to practice. They're going to be practicing for the first time this week on tomorrow or Thursday, and
not to mention they came off they're coming off a bye as well.
And they are coming off a bye, so it makes the show a little bit more challenging this week, I guess we could say. I mean, there are some things that we're going to bring up. All this really is speculation. We're going to be going based off of what we've seen for roster moves and stuff like that, and even the game notes haven't come out yet from the league. So, I mean, the only things that haven't changed is that the Alouettes are still last in the league in rushing, a 10-win team.
And they're still going to be hosting the Eastern Final.
11-win team. 11-win team. Yeah. So, I guess we can say the plus is both your boys from the Alouettes Flight Deck are ready and raring to go to Vancouver. Whether the Owls are there or not, we will be there. Everything's been booked. And hope to see you guys there.
Absolutely.
Also, since it is
obviously, go ahead.
No, go. Because I'm about to do another promo, so go.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say, yeah, you and I are going to be there for sure in Vancouver. God willing, so will the rest of Alouettes Nation, and God willing, so will the Montreal Alouettes. But they're in a prime spot. Let's face it. No matter what malaise we've seen over the past couple of weeks, and some of the, shall we say, challenging moments that they've had over the past, well, I guess basically since Labor Day, this team is still in a good position and still are, by and large, the odds-on favorites to represent the East in the Grey Cup. So let's just hope that they take these next 3 games that they have left in the regular season as the opportunity to build towards that Eastern Final and reaching that goal of representing the East in the Grey Cup. So, yeah, all this to say is, yes, you and I will be in Vancouver. I'm sure a lot more Owl fans than what we've come to see over the past couple of years will be in Vancouver as well. And here's hoping the Alouettes will be too.
And because it is our Thanksgiving Day Classic episode, we also we can now say, obviously, we've been promoting it for the last couple of weeks, but this is the week. Come this Monday, Thanksgiving Monday, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern, just to the right, if you're coming into the stadium, just to the right of the main gates at Percival Molson, we will be there with the second annual Flight Deck meetup. And obviously, like we have as of last year, like we did, Cliff, we are also partnering with some great guys, aren't we?
Absolutely. We're so thankful that once again, Claude and the great group Les Gars qui Vivent, who run the tailgate, the fan tailgate at on I guess at Parc Mont Royal.
Mhm.
Every week they are there. Rain, shine, win, lose. These guys come and they just bring an absolutely fantastic tailgate atmosphere to Percival Molson Stadium. Yes, the Alouettes do their own thing, just I'd say adjacent to where Les Gars qui Vivent set up shop. And yeah, they do great stuff with the Alouettes tailgate, but I think true Alouettes fans, we always talk about if you know, you know. True Alouettes fans know that for the real, honest to goodness Montreal tailgate experience, you have to come see Claude. You have to come see the entire gang at the at Les Gars qui Vivent. So we are so thankful that they're allowing us again to come and set up and be a part of the fan meetup. We want all of you coming out to it. Please, if you do, make sure you are wearing your Alouettes t-shirt, your Alouettes Flightdeck t-shirts, whether it's the Cartoon Bird 56 or any of our shirts, honestly. I mean, we want to meet you all. We want to meet all the great listeners, the viewers, everyone who's tuning into the Flight Deck. We want you all to be a part of this event. So it's coming this Monday. Rain, shine, whatever is going on before the game, as Tim said, between 10 a.m. and noon. Still gives you lots of time to, come in, have a couple of adult beverages or non-alcoholic beverages if that's your thing. Just meet some great fans, meet us too. I mean, we're excited to see each and every one of you, and come be a part of something special. And we're so excited for this. We got some ideas in mind that hopefully will come to fruition. And my God, it's going to be a great. I mean, the Thanksgiving Day game is always great. There's no question about that. But being able to do this with you guys is what's really going to make this an even more special event, if that's even humanly possible. This is going to make a good thing even better.
Let's look for our banner that we had last year. It will be there. Can't miss us. Also, we can finally say, because we have gotten them in, we have a limited giveaway for Monday. A limited giveaway, and they are limited, and we might as well go ahead and say what they are. We are going to be giving away, again, I said, limited amount, limited sizes of the Cartoon Bird 56 shirt. So
That's right.
we're gonna figure a way how to give them away, but as I said, very limited amount. So all the more reason to come out and say hey to us. So
Yeah, and if you've already got your shirts, as I said, please rock them with pride. And if you're wanting to bring friends, family, what have you, to the tailgate and to the meetup, we'd love to have each and every one of you come in and check us out. And just, like I said, we've got a couple ideas in mind, and we're hoping that they come to fruition. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. I mean, last year we got to meet quite a few people, and just hearing different people, come up to us and talk to us about what they like and what they don't like about the Flight Deck. Didn't really get too many negative comments, to tell you the truth. I mean, I think a lot of people appreciate what we do, and we do it for the fans, right? I mean, this is why we do this each and every week, is because we want to hear from everyone who supports the Alouettes and what they think of our show and that. But to be able to actually meet the people in person and get them to meet us, I mean, I don't know how exciting that is, but at least it's a great event. It's always something I'm excited to think about, that this could actually be a thing. And honestly, it's going to be awesome. I have a feeling. I'm hoping this is one of those cases where the sequel is better than the original. You know what I mean?
I completely agree with you. Stay tuned for our socials for more information. We'll be putting out a map if you haven't seen it on where it's located. But I mean, if you've been there before and you know Claude and the guys, you know where we're going to be. But stay tuned. And I was just looking through some of that stuff here. Stickers. Also have our stickers. So I think we both have some. We can bring them in and give them away too. So, yes. Speaking of Thanksgiving Day, leading up, I said limited topics, but we got some topics to talk about. The game is sold out, and we're not. I mean, I
Outstanding.
checked I checked the the ticket site, and I was like, wow, it really. I mean, I don't think there. If you went to the section there, that they may have still been a dark blue or whatever color they were. There's like only 1 or 2 seats per section. That's it. That's all there was.
Mm.
So the Alouettes are going to sell out this place for the 3rd time this season, and that hasn't happened since 2013, since we've had 3+ games sold out. Official sellouts. I'm saying sellouts based on what it was at Percival Molson, not the crowd size, but sellouts. So
It's almost like being the reigning, defending, undisputed Grey Cup champions means something. Like that moves tickets. Who knew?
who knew?
But maybe
I gotta admit,
I think a lot.
because like having over 23,000 for the 3rd time in a row, 3rd time this season, that's fantastic. That
It
really
really,
is. And
it really is.
I'm thinking we're gonna see at least 1 or 2 more. From what I've heard.
Well, see, that's the thing. There's essentially 2 regular season games left and the Eastern Final. So we already know the Thanksgiving game is sold out. October 26th versus Winnipeg, a Saturday game. And yes, more than likely it will be the dreaded glorified preseason game, which means if we see any stars, we won't be seeing them for very long because you don't want them getting hurt. And I have a feeling Winnipeg is, especially if they clinch the division, which they could do this weekend, they too are not going to want to necessarily put their best foot forward or risk injury to any of their superstars. So that game has potential to be a snooze fest, but that too could be sold out. Maybe people will still want to come support no matter what. And then you got the Eastern Final, which tickets are on sale for right now. And who knows? Maybe by the time we get to Percival Molson Stadium on Monday, maybe we find out that the Eastern Final has been sold out. Could you imagine?
Oh, yes. Yes, I can. I mean, come on. Yeah, let's we want the best record in the season. Let's see us get to, 12, 13, 14 wins. Why not, right? Anything's possible. The Owls team, considering how good they are on the road, they just need to get things going. And that's what we're hoping to see this week. The
Yeah.
only other interesting news that we saw this week, which in my opinion could have some ramifications, but I guess we'll find out once they start practicing tomorrow. So stay tuned to our socials and stuff like that. Is that the Alouettes brought back in quarterback James Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
I found that interesting. And this is just us this to me, usually if you're bringing, because they let James go a couple weeks back,
Mm-hmm.
makes me wonder if they're bringing in James, are we about to see a potential change at quarterback at least for this week? Is it leading up to maybe a change in BC? Is it leading up to a potential, because you said resting and whatnot, depending on who plays? Is there a possibility that Davis Alexander starts this week?
I think it's
We
a very
won't,
good
we
possibility.
honestly won't know. We won't know really until tomorrow for the first day of practice.
That's true. But realistically, I think I think realistically, yeah, he deserves a chance to start at least one of these 3 remaining regular season games. Why not? Considering how big of a fan favorite he has truly become this year, and what will be arguably one of the biggest crowds. Well, obviously it's going to be one of the biggest crowds this coming Monday. Why not let Davis get in there, get some honest reps, and for him to win in front of the hometown crowd would be absolutely tremendous. I think it would be a great boost for his confidence. Also, an opportunity to showcase what he's able to do, and again, give this team more options. I mean, there's no question. This is still Cody Fajardo's team, win, lose, or draw. But it's hard to argue with what Davis Alexander did when he stepped in for relief when Cody got hurt. I mean, he played some absolutely phenomenal football. And I think he deserves the opportunity to show that he can still do that. He can still be counted upon to come in and win games for this Alouettes organization. And I would honestly be surprised if he didn't get more than one opportunity to showcase what he's able to do. So with 3 games remaining, you don't necessarily want to bench not bench, but not play Cody unless he's hurt, like truly hurt, and I don't think he is. I think you want to give Cody a chance to get out and get some reps too, but at the same time, don't leave him out for too long because ultimately the game doesn't mean anything in the standings, and you don't want to risk him getting hurt, especially when you're about to host the Eastern Final. As a result, Davis Alexander is no doubt going to get 1, possibly 2 starts, maybe even 3. Dominique Davis is going to get some more reps at quarterback other than just coming in for short yardage. And now with James Morgan back in the mix, possibly he too can come in. Maybe even if it's just for mop-up duty, since if they decide truly not to dress Fajardo for one or more of these games. It's going to be an interesting wrinkle, and I guess until we see this team truly back at practice, as you said, all we can do is speculate. But it makes for some interesting conversation when it comes to the quarterbacking room in here in Montreal.
I agree with you. I agree. And, we'll find out too. Will Mac be back? We'll find out tomorrow. I mean, will they take him off the 6 game? Is he ready to come back? I know you did before. At least we got to give. But speaking of Mac, give him a shout out too. If I'm not mistaken, him and his wife. Congratulations on their new baby.
Yeah, another little Mac. I mean, that's absolutely another member of Alouettes Nation, which is always great. I mean, yeah, he's embraced the whole girl dad thing. Austin has, which looks good on him. And yeah, I think now that baby number 2 is here now, hopefully we can get a chance for Austin to come back and doing what he loves and what he's extremely good at, which is catching footballs. Here's hoping that maybe with the inspiration of being a family man is going to be enough for it. Like, I'm sure he wants not just have his kids watch him on TV win a Grey Cup, win championships, and play outstanding football, but to see him do that live, like, this is the opportunity for him to be able to do that. And here's hoping that we get the good news that yes, Austin Mack will be back in the lineup, because this Alouettes team, simply put, is much better when 81 is in the lineup.
So we'll find out with that. The other roster moves that the Alouettes made is that they added Theo Grant to the active roster, and we still really don't know what this means because this has popped up already more than once this year. And the look that we got from Danny Mack at training camp when we mentioned this to him was priceless, by the way. Tresman Marshall, he's a linebacker out of Alabama. He too was added to future active, whatever the hell that means, because we can't, as I said, Danny Mack's reaction at training camp when we told him one player was like, no, he's been cut. So,
and I also won't mention the words he used when we asked him what future active was, and he was like, "Yeah." So I won't say that because we're trying to be family friendly.
Yeah.
Suffice to say, it was a term that threw everybody off.
Yeah, exactly. Again, as I said, practice starts for the first time on Thursday, and it goes through. Head out to practice. I mean, it's fun to watch them. I mean, they'll be practicing on Saturday this week, so why not?
Yeah. One of the rare instances where wow, we're just stepping all over each other tonight, aren't we?
Yeah, I know. I tell you, get off me. Hey, you man, you've got big feet. But yeah, I mean, it's true. One of the rare chances. I think I'm reading your mind. Hold on. I'm reading your mind here, Cliff. One of those rare chances where practice is actually on the weekends and you can actually attend without having to worry about work. Am I close?
Ding, ding, ding. We've got a winner, Johnny.
Yes, I win the Cupid doll. All right. Yeah. So why not head over to Steady Bear, join the fans, see what it's like, get some autographs. So it should be fun. We were talking about the playoffs before. The game itself is really there's only one spot that's remaining to be clinched in the CFL playoffs. Everybody else has clinched a playoff spot. For the first time in modern history, no Alberta teams are going to be making the playoffs. What?
That's wild.
I know.
That is absolutely wild to think about. It's funny.
And
I
the East,
remember at the start of the season, a lot of people had asked us what our predictions were, and I said, I got a feeling Calgary is not going to make the playoffs this year. And a lot of people didn't know how to react to that because it just seems unfathomable. I mean, I think, was it 2004 was the last time they didn't make the playoffs? I mean, that's a long,
well,
long time to go. I mean, Edmonton. I mean, that's why I had said in the West it was going to be Winnipeg, BC, and a team wearing green. I didn't say which team because I wasn't too sure because you can make an argument for Saskatchewan and you can even make an argument for Edmonton the way things are going. But I don't think even, my God, I think about our dear friends over at the Turf District and what they had to watch with the Elks this year. And even they have to be going, WTF. Like, this was not how it was supposed to go. I mean, and I feel for them. But, I mean, no Edmonton, no Calgary in the playoffs. It just, I kind of have a hard time wrapping my head around that.
it's weird. I will admit it's weird because it can't happen in the East where no teams from Ontario don't make the playoffs. That can never happen
It would be physical. I think it'd be physically impossible for that to happen.
unless it happened
And
when Ottawa didn't have a team. When the Renegades folded, or I don't.
uh,
No, no, because Winnipeg came over. No, I don't think so. No,
yeah, yeah,
it couldn't happen. It couldn't happen.
right,
It couldn't happen.
yeah,
So, there's one spot left. It will be for in the Eastern Division, and it will be between Toronto and Hamilton. Hamilton
mhm.
cannot make the crossover because of obviously with what's happened over in the West. Um, but it'll come down to those two teams who will make who will make that last spot. And it will make for some. It's good to have. I think it's good for the league to be able to have something that means something, the games that actually mean something, because there's
I
nothing
mean, when you
worse
think,
than you know.
yeah, like best example is last year when Toronto basically had the Eastern Division sewn up in like mid September, and it wasn't because the other teams were terrible. It was just they were just so dominant. But it also too led to them sort of sitting around waiting for everybody else to play catch up, and yeah, it doesn't make for fun, exciting football. I mean, the fact that we had it wasn't only it was up until last weekend where things were still like all 9 teams were still mathematically in the playoff hunt.
Yeah,
Uh, Obviously, when the dust settled, as we said, both Calgary and Edmonton ended up on the outside looking in, and either Hamilton or possibly even Toronto can join them. I mean, I think a lot would have to happen. I think it's ultimately Toronto's spot to lose at this point, but in theory, if both Hamilton and Toronto end up with equal records, Hamilton gets in simply because they won the season series. They swept the Argos this year. So it's Hamilton can still make the playoffs, but at this point now they're going to need a bit of help from other teams in order to do so. But as it stands right
because
now, they are still mathematically alive in the playoff hunt.
problem is though in the East is they have a game in hand. They've already played 16, and they're still 4 points behind.
Yeah, yeah. So
So
again,
it's tough.
it's kind of funny to think about, but especially this weekend, a lot of Hamilton fans are going to be cheering for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, despite the fact that the Blue Bombers beat the Tiger Cats in back-to-back Grey Cups very recently. But I mean, if you want your team to make it, you're gonna need some help from places you probably didn't think you were going to have to ask for help. So again, it's all part of what makes this league so interesting.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Um, I said, other than that, as I said, it's been a slow week. It really has for news and stuff like that. Obviously, with the Owls having a bye week and stuff like that, but let's see if the Owls can turn the thing around. And obviously, they're playing Toronto. Excuse me, they're playing Ottawa. What do you what do you see? Um, what needs to be done? Obviously, I'm looking at So currently the Owls are a 4.5-point favorite, by the way.
Mhm.
Uh, the weather itself keeps changing, so there's a possibility of rain, but we're not sure. I don't think it's gonna be like it was last year, where it really did rain basically the entire game. But whoever starts at quarterback this week, I think they just need to get off the schneid real quickly when it comes to that first quarter. Get some scoring going. Hopefully they'll make the changes when it comes to the run defense. Um, and just score. They need to score. Period. They need to start strong. If they can have another blowout like they did last year versus Ottawa, I'll take that too. I really will. I don't think it'll be a. I don't know how much of a blow it would be, but considering these two teams could possibly meet in the Eastern Final. But
Mhm.
Alouettes need to right the ship on a lot of these things when it comes to many things. So and that running game. Don't get me going about the running game. As we've already said many times, Fletch is great out of the backfield when it comes to receiving, but the running game has just been absolutely atrocious.
By and large, it has been. You're right. And I think what Montreal has to do is kind of like what they did in Ottawa a few weeks ago. I mean, they got off to a hot start, like especially defensively. Like the defense basically punched them in the mouth right away, and then they just
Mhm.
started coasting and were settling for field goals and just doing everything and basically letting Ottawa beat themselves. I have to believe at this point now, Ottawa's not going to beat itself again. I just don't see it. I mean, they too they're in a good spot right now, but again, with Toronto and Hamilton kind of looming just a little bit, they got to get their act together. They got to prove that they're not also not coasting as well. I think that's been the case with Ottawa over the past few weeks. Is they do just enough to, well, I can't even say win because they're on a bit of a losing streak right now. I think they're going to want to come out hot too, and they're going to want to have something to prove because even though this isn't a rivalry in the traditional sense, I still feel like the Alouettes and Red Blacks bring out the best in each other. I think that when they get together, whether it's at Percival Molson Stadium or at TD Place, these two teams love playing each other. It's almost to see like it's one of those iron sharpens iron kind of deals. And I think Ottawa's
Yeah.
going to want to set the tone too early, and they're going to want to prove that they can hang with essentially a top tier team like the Alouettes. Montreal, though, believe it or not, has something to prove. It's kind of funny to think about an 11-3-1 team having to prove themselves, but that's kind of where things are at right now. And realistically, I expect having nearly 2 weeks off should have really gotten things straight for the Alouettes. I sincerely hope that the bye week has done them well. Any nagging injuries that they've had, they're able to get through. And the coaches, I hope, have really taken a good long look at a lot of things, especially the run defense, and find ways to basically put a cork in it. Make sure that they stop the bloodletting that's been happening each and every time an opposing running back has gone up against this run defense. Because if this front seven can't stop people in their tracks, then they've got it's not going to be a very easy repeat trip to the Grey Cup. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. The Owls need to get hot. The Owls need to get hot. And in my opinion, they need to win the next 2 or 3 or even 3. You know, really, I think prove that they can win the Grey Cup if they can go into I understand we're looking ahead, but if they can go into BC and win, because obviously that's where the Grey Cup is.
Which is yeah. Which also too, and I know we've talked about ad nauseum the BC Place curse when it comes to the Montreal Alouettes. But the way BC's been playing too, like they haven't looked like the world beaters that they're supposed to be, despite having Nathan Rourke. I mean, hell, Toronto and Hamilton have gone into BC Place. They're in the same time zone as the Alouettes, so they, all the built-in excuses as why they should lose the game. That also applies to them as well. And they went in, and Toronto was actually dominant in their win. Hamilton had to kind of scratch and claw and fight their way back to win in overtime, but they still got the W. as far as I'm concerned, there's no reason why Montreal can't do the same, whether it's a blowout or a tough, scrappy win. I don't care what it takes. But yes, it's not so incredible to think that the Alouettes can't go into BC Place this year and beat the Lions as well. They've qualified for the playoffs. They too may not want to, I'm trying to think of the expression, like just, I don't want to say not put their best foot forward, but at the same time, like everybody else now, you're kind of in prevent in the sense that you don't want to have any of your superstars go get hurt in a game where it doesn't affect the standings. It's like BC does still have a chance to play for position. A lot will depend on how Winnipeg does, because Winnipeg has won their season series against BC Lions. So if BC wants to host the Western Final, a lot's going to have to fall into their favor. But they want to at least host the Western semifinal. And the best way to do that is to keep winning as well. So they've got to be motivated too. All this to say that Montreal, I think you're right, Tim. If Montreal can win 2 of 3 of these 3 remaining games against Ottawa, Thanksgiving is a very good possibility. BC doesn't seem so far-fetched. And the last game against Winnipeg, even though Winnipeg's coming here, and more than likely it'll be taxi squad versus taxi squad, I would love to find out if Montreal's quote-unquote taxi squad is better than what BC or what Winnipeg's is offering. Because that game, I can almost guarantee, is going to be a very conservative, very careful affair, shall we say.
Yeah.
But again,
but
Montreal did beat Winnipeg earlier this year. Sorry?
Less than vanilla?
Like not even French vanilla. It's like, like vanilla extract.
No, that's big
like
money for vanilla
imitation
extract.
Vanilla extract.
Even okay, there we go, imitation, yeah.
Yeah. Like the cheap crap you get at Bulk Barn.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes.
Montreal, if Montreal were to win all 3 of these games, despite the circumstances, that would be a tremendous feather in their cap. It would also, I think, put a lot of people on notice, like, oh, okay, yeah, these guys are who we thought they were, and they definitely should be taken seriously. And that game, November 9th at Percival Wilson Stadium, the Eastern Final, is not going to be a gimme by any stretch of the imagination. So yes, I think the Alouettes do have a lot to prove still. I still think they have enough to get motivated for. I have enough to get excited for. But they got to go out and execute. Simply put, that's what this team has to do, is go out, set the tone, and it starts this Monday against the Ottawa Redblacks.
I agree with you. Don't forget, we are on the internet. You can find us everywhere. If you want to look for the main archive, you can head over to www.alouettesflightdeck.ca, where you can find an archive of all of our shows dating back to the very first episode, all 8+ years. We are also on Instagram and YouTube. I'm changing it up. Instagram and YouTube over at Alouettes Flight Deck. You can find us over on Facebook at Alouettes Flight Deck Pod, and you can find us over on X over at Alouettes FL Deck. And also, you can also find us over on Twitch too. You can find us at twitch.tv/Alouettes Flight Deck. If you're looking for merch, a couple ways you can do that. Obviously, you can head over to our shop over at flightdeckgear.ca, where you can get the Cartoon Bird 56 shirt. You can get a logo T-shirt. You can get. No, you won't have it in time for the game this week, but you do have a chance to rep the merch and rep it at a future home game, or just walk down downtown or wherever you are and just rep hey, where'd you get that nice shirt? Get one of those reactions from somebody walking next to you. Why not? And new this week, something we did announce over on social media, one of our newest affiliate, we're now an affiliate member over at Royal Retros, Cliff, where if you use the promo code FlightDeck at checkout, you will save 15% off your entire order. I did speak to Dustin, by the way. They have a couple of things coming up very, very soon when it comes to when it comes to some merchandise that they're going to be coming out with. Obviously, as everybody knows, if you go to Royal Retros or if you haven't seen it before, this is a place where you don't need a time machine in order to pick up that retro merch because they have it now. No need to go back to the 80s, 70s, 60s, whatever. You can get that stuff now over at Royal Retros, and I know that if they don't have it, all you gotta do is contact them, and I know they can try to make it for you as best as possible, so, but there's a lot of stuff out there, dude. A lot of stuff, Montreal Royals stuff, there's a lot, Toronto Phantom stuff, we talk about Arena League, there's, some Canadian Montreal Canadian pro football jerseys up there also. And also, you talk about the Montreal Machine too. That's also there too. So as I said, head over to royalretros.com, use Flight Deck at checkout, and save 15%.
Not to mention too,
Oh,
they've got all of the CFL USA jerseys as well,
oh yeah,
and some
that's
of that
right. I
stuff is
forgot about that.
unbelievable. I mean, people have joked about like the Las Vegas Posse. That's where Anthony Calvillo got his CFL career started. You could go buy now, like go to that website royalretros.com and buy an Anthony Calvillo Las Vegas Posse jersey. I mean, you want to talk about a deep cut. You want to talk about, you know, going way back. I mean, I hate to think that going back to the 90s is going way back, but, but absolutely amazing. I mean, just it was such a crazy time, the 90s and the CFL expanding to the United States. And something that's even been brought up as recently as this past week, friend of the show, Dave Naylor, kind of floated this on social media about if things don't work out with the UFL, there's a big fan base in St. Louis, Missouri that absolutely loves football, that is starved for football. They are the only UFL team that seems to be getting like 30,000 per game to their stadium. And they play in a dome too. They play in a dome akin to BC Place, even as far as the size goes and if that. Dave Naylor's been talking about the possibility, like if the UFL goes belly up anytime soon, could you possibly see St. Louis become the 10th team that everybody's hoping for in the Canadian Football League? Logistically, I don't know if they could do that. I don't know if they can fit a CFL field in that stadium in St. Louis. So, I mean, I think that would be a big question mark right there. There's also the idea of, once again, being involved in the US of A, which may or may not excite some people. I don't know. And also, too, would St. Louis natives take to the CFL? I mean, they've shown that they care about alternative football, but it's still four down football. It's still very similar to the NFL in a lot of ways. Uh, would they fall in love with the Canadian game and their nuances? I think that would be a big question. I guess it's possible, and would it be interesting? I mean, I think it certainly would be. But then you have the whole issue with the ratio, and would they have to respect it being an American team? I mean, there would be a lot of moving parts, but once again, and let's face it, the Maritimes, it's a pipe dream. At this point, truly, it's a pipe dream. It's just, as much as we want the Atlantic Schooners to be a 10th team, with each passing day, it just feels like it's a fantasy. Whereas you've got an established base in St. Louis, a diehard base that loves its football. The only question is, would they be willing to adopt the Canadian game in the same sense that, say, Baltimore did back in the mid '90s? But they too, as soon as they got an NFL team, they basically told the Stallions to get lost, which again worked out for us being Alouettes fans because the Baltimore Stallions moved to Montreal and became the Alouettes again. But could St. Louis be that 10th team for the Canadian Football League? I don't know. Might be worth discussing. Might just be a crazy pipe dream as well. It's hard to say. What do you think, Tim?
I've thought about that too. I think really the thing is to do with the ratio. Yes, they would have to switch back to the way it was, and we do remember how strong. If you get somebody as good as they were when it came to Don Matthews and to Jim Pop and being God, I think a lot of the current Alouettes were with that team, and even our current president Mark Whiteman was with them. So it's uh, I think it's a great idea. I agree with you. There are some hurdles. You know, I don't know if they can put a Canadian sized field there because my thought is that if you can't do it right, which they did not do really, I think the only reason why they could do it in Baltimore because it was a baseball stadium. If you can't do it anywhere else, don't do it at all. That's my point because it needs to be it needs to be a field that is regulation. You know, despite Montreal as an example not having full size end zones as an example, and despite Toronto not having, I don't think Toronto has full size end zones either. Um, but still, I mean, it's a great idea. But again, do bring up a lot of pluses and you do bring up a lot of questions. So we'll see. We'll see. Do I ever think it's going to happen? No. Do I think they have a better chance at sticking with the touchdown city name here games? Yeah, I really do. And maybe they'll go with that from there. But we'll see. You know, I still think there are cities in Canada that really deserve a chance, and you know, I would Quebec, considering what they draw right now for the Rouge et Or, why not? I mean, they're drawing 15, 16, 17,000 in that stadium. And
Yeah, but it's also
that's that's college ball.
that's just it though. It's college kids paying college prices. I still think back to when was it 2015 when the Alouettes had their preseason game in Quebec
Peps.
City
Yeah.
at the Pep Stadium, and they were charging full pop for tickets, and most people were like, "Go sit and twirl. I'm not going to pay full price for a preseason game, even if it's in Quebec City." But that's the thing. If you were to put a CFL team in Quebec City, you'd be paying CFL prices. And are the people of Quebec City willing to do that? I truly don't know. If I were to go based off of that one instance back in 2015, I'd say heck no, they're not willing to do it. But a lot's changed since 2015. Obviously, we know Quebec has been a stronghold of Canadian football for decades now. Arguably, some of the best players in this league come from Quebec. Could the Quebec City region support a team like what the city of Montreal supports the Montreal Alouettes? Potentially. I mean, you might even lose some of those diehards. Maybe they're in Quebec City as well. And would they switch allegiances from the Alouettes to a team in Quebec City? Maybe, maybe not. It's hard to say. Do I think there's a market there? Potentially. I just don't know if it's so cut and dry as it would be. But it still comes down to how much are you willing to invest? Who would be willing to invest it? Because last time I checked, there isn't two Pierre Carl Pellados running around in Quebec, and I think the Pierre Carl Pellado that's running the Alouettes really likes it in Montreal. I don't know if he would abandon ship and go start up a team in Quebec City just for the sake of having that 10th team. But then again, stranger things have happened in the Canadian Football League, so who knows? But yeah, it would be very interesting though, like St. Louis in the Canadian Football League. Do you put them in the West or the East? Because I mean, you need five teams in the division. I mean, St. Louis is kind of right in the middle, and they're in the Midwest. So I mean, your first thought is in the West, but then who moves over East? Do you put Winnipeg back in the East? I don't think so. I don't. I think a lot of people would be extremely upset about that. So it could be one of those weird situations where St. Louis all of a sudden is an Eastern team, and how does that work? Being in the Midwest, as we've talked about, so still, it makes for interesting discussion as far as that dream of having the 10th team in the Canadian Football League.
Exactly. And before we finish up, I know there was one thing that we want to at least talk about a little bit, Cliff, and just give our quick thoughts on. Obviously, with the All CFL coming up this year, I'm still not getting used to them saying that instead of the CFL All Stars. It's kind of weird. But we're also wanting to talk about who we think that potentially that our choices will be for the Alouettes representatives for the year end awards. And I will, since it was your idea, I'm gonna pass it off to you, and let's see who we can come up with for each of these nominations.
Okay. Well, as we do this, it's going to be based off of when they do the CFL awards during Grey Cup week. Obviously, they have different positions that are listed as most outstanding, and all 9 teams choose a representative that end up getting voted on as. Eventually, one of them becomes the Eastern or the Western finalist, and then the winner gets determined at the CFL awards. So, with that in mind, we'll choose who we think would be good representatives for each of those positions. So let's start with most outstanding special teams player. I think we both know the answer to this, but I'll let you go first. Who gets the nod for that?
Oh, without a doubt, James Ledger. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. By the way, congratulations to James and to
100%.
Tyra Richards for being named CFL Special Team Players of the Month, I think it was. I was like, that's fantastic. But yeah, Letcher.
Outstanding. Yeah, 100% Letcher. I mean, you could almost make the case for Jose Maltos as well. The way he came in relief of David Cote and has been not perfect, but very, very close to perfect. I mean, you can definitely make an argument for Maltos as well. But ultimately, if the award is outstanding, and there's no question, James Letcher is an outstanding football player, and definitely would be, as far as I'm concerned, the nomination for most outstanding special teams player for the Montreal Alouettes.
I agree.
Next, let's go. Let's go with most outstanding offensive lineman.
You know I'm not good at this. um, I will go with the quarterback. I will go with J Law because I think really being the yeah, I said being the quarterback of the offensive line itself, being able to point stuff out and whatnot, not just because he's center, but I think I'm going to give it to him. I'll say him. I'm trying to think. We've had some issues with some of the other guys this year, but I think I don't want to say he's the safest bet, but I think he's the most deserving. I think, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is also too where the whole outstanding versus valuable comes in, because most people hear these awards and they think most valuable in the sense like most valuable player or such, and it's not about valuable necessarily. And I would definitely make the argument if it was the most valuable, then yes, for the reasons you listed, Justin Lawrence would be 100%. Like it would be a shoe in. When it comes to outstanding, J Law has been pretty outstanding this year in his own right. I mean, he's, as you said, he's basically the quarterback of the offensive line. He's got to, yeah, he's got to see everything in front of him, so he's got to be able to react at a moment's notice. We've had him on the show, and he's explained to us that it's not so simple just being on the offensive line. So, yeah, it would have to be either for me. It would have to be either Justin Lawrence or even Pierre Olivier Lestage has been outstanding this year. I mean, he's done a lot of the dirty work that doesn't get noticed, and that's the thing. Like, if you don't hear your name called, that's typically a good thing when it comes to the offensive line, because they're sort of the unsung heroes. When they do their job properly, keep the quarterback upright and give the running back chances, open up lanes for them to do their thing. They don't get the love that they really should. But I think J Law or Pierre Olivier Lestage, I think you can make an argument for either one of them to be the most outstanding offensive lineman. Next up, most outstanding defensive player.
Boy. Huh. Couple in mind, but with all honesty, it could be between Bev and it could be between Sankey, in my opinion. But I really probably just based on how he's done this year and where he's been in the stats for most of the season, I probably will give it to Darnell Sankey. Um, yeah, I think I would because I'm trying to think of a lot of the other guys. Everybody has had their pluses and minuses this year, but he's just been bang on all year.
He's definitely been a force. There's no question about that. And I'd probably go with him if only because my God, that when that guy hits you, it hurts like hell. Like as I've joked about, like I've had a bro hug or two with him, and every time it's just pat on the back. It's like, oh, you feel that. But as fantastic as Darnell has been this year, I would have to go with Tyrese Beverett. I think you can't overlook just how much of a absolute menace he has been to opposing quarterbacks and offenses in general. I mean, defensive tackles, knockdowns, interceptions, even quarterback sacks. I mean, he's been absolutely outstanding this year. I mean, and been a leader too. That's the thing too. Like this linebacking core has gone through its trials and tribulations this year, but I mean, playing with such an edge, like he has really been outstanding. I joke about it all the time. Can't forget the Bev. Never, never, never. And I think this year, the Alouettes simply cannot forget the Bev when it comes to the CFL awards.
So I'll give you that, buddy. I'll rock paper scissors for you. But I mean, no, I can't go wrong with either of the choices that we made.
So that's the thing is both have made a pretty outstanding case, and that's the idea, right? Most outstanding, and you wouldn't be mad at either one of those choices, as far as I'm concerned, and that's a good thing to have, right? I mean, like, probably makes for a very tough vote for because it's the players that vote for this, right? So I'm sure a lot of them are like, yeah, Bev was doing some pretty outstanding stuff, but Darnell, I mean, he's been pretty incredible too. So it's who do I cast my vote for? It's got to be tough. It's got to be tough for the players. Next up, most outstanding Canadian.
That's tough. Now,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's talking about this whole Bo Levi thing, potentially making, being a nomination for MOP, even though he potentially will be on a team he'll be on a team that has a losing record.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't have a problem putting Tyson Philpott, considering what he did for the first third or fourth of the season that he did this year. I have no problem putting him in there. But I know I can't I can't in good conscience do that because I know that there are others, but man, dude, this is tough. For the Owls this year, that is tough. I mean, other than you know what? I could honestly see probably Isaac Demi Berglund getting a nod. I can see uh I can see J-Law getting a nod. Um with all I mean, Dequoy has had a down year this year. Uh with all honesty, dude, wow. Yeah. KJG has had a down year. Can I still stick with my choice for for Philpott? Um this one's tough.
I mean,
This one's really
it
tough.
really is because you're absolutely right. Like I said, like Tyson Philpott was going to go off this year. I thought he was going to have a monster year, and he certainly was having a monster year before he got hurt. And putting up the numbers that should have would have made this like a unanimous choice, like a clear cut without even question. You would go with Tyson Philpott, but could the Alouettes do that? Could you truly nominate someone that's I'm sorry to say only played a third of the season? Again, through no fault of his own, but at the same time, it would be very unusual for that to happen. Uh, and you're right. A lot of the guys you mentioned, for the most part, have had down years. Like they really haven't looked outstanding, with one exception. And I'm glad you mentioned his name. Isaac Adeyemi Berglund has been truly tremendous this year. I mean, you talk about what a find. Like for Danny Machocha to bring him in free agency to help, shore up this defensive line even more. And with the absence of Sean Lemon, this year. Like you see a lot of the holes that could have come from this, but Isaac, as far as I'm concerned, has just been playing phenomenal football, working very hard to make life a living hell for the opposing quarterback. And yeah, like no disrespect to the other Canadians that were mentioned, like they are good, but I cannot, in good conscience, call them outstanding. But Isaac,
Yeah,
without question, I think you would have to give him the nod. I mean, simply put, like if Tyson wasn't hurt, he would be the clear cut winner without question. But if 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 you got to go with someone who's played in more, the most games this year, it would have to be Isaac Adeyemi Berglund. I mean, he's just
yeah,
been next level since he's put on this Alouettes uniform. He has just been on another level entirely. So, yeah, I think that would be a very safe and smart choice for most outstanding Canadian.
I agree.
And last but not least, most outstanding player for the Alouettes this year.
I to me, you know, despite the trials and tribulations, despite not playing 4 games this year, 3 games this year, uh, I'm gonna give it to Cody. I'm trying to think of anybody else who has been more outstanding than Cody has. I mean, I know it seems to be an easy given, an easy, to always just to give it to a quarterback, but honestly, I can't think of anybody else on this team who has been the most outstanding player than Cody has. Um, hell, do you think I probably would have voted for if Tyson to continue to go off, I would probably try to give it to Tyson because I think he was in the early running too for most outstanding player.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna give it to Cody. I'm gonna give it to Cody because I really, as I said, this has been a year. Despite an 11 win team, it's been an interesting year. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna give it to Cody.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. I think that's more than likely the direction this team is going to go in. I mean, especially since, as we said, since basically Labor Day, like or ever since the Edmonton game when he came back, even Cody hasn't looked 100% himself, and I don't know if he's still bothered by the injury that kept him out for 4 games. I want to hope not. I just want to hope that he's really good, physically and mentally. But when I look at those, like the last couple of games, he's been good. He's put up some pretty solid numbers. It's just like a shade below outstanding. But if you look at the overall body of work, then yes, I think that would you could definitely make the argument for Cody Fajardo. You could also make the argument again for Tyrese Beverett for the same reasons that we outlined earlier. I mean,
Same thing with
you want
Darnell
to talk about
Sankey.
out. So that's it. Like if you're talking about, remember the category is outstanding. Like I almost want to make a slight argument for Davis Alexander because the 4 games that he played, he truly was outstanding. But 4 games is not nearly enough. Just like it would be almost like letting voting Tyson Philpott for most outstanding Canadian, despite only playing what was essentially a third of the season. I mean, it doesn't take away from what they did. Let's make that perfectly clear. It does not take away anything that these guys have done in 2024. But when you have to look at the overall body of work and ultimately have to make the choice of who's going to be the most outstanding, I mean, do you go the safe bet with Cody? Do you maybe do a double dip if it is Tyrese Beverett, not only as most outstanding defensive player, but also most outstanding player overall? This is also one of those situations where it's tough, but you wouldn't be mad either way at the choice. It definitely would make for interesting discussion. And also, too, you would also have to hope that I think with these 3 remaining games coming up, that both those guys are going to be making a push to really make it an easy choice as far as like they're obviously going to want to prove that they're the best at what they do, that they are outstanding at what they do. And if either of those guys have a monster game or two, that could be the deciding factor right there. It's it's a tough problem to have, but still a good problem to have when you think about it, just knowing that wow, you've got all this talent on this football team, and they're all going for the same goal to bring this franchise a ninth Grey Cup victory. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
I forgot.
yes.
I forgot there was one other nominee, most outstanding rookie.
Oh, crap. Uh, that's even
I'll give you
tougher.
two names if you like.
Go for it.
All right, Charleston Rambo or Jeffrey Conte Arcu.
Rambo.
I think by the slightest of margins, you would have to give it to Rambo because when it comes to outstanding, I think you definitely make the argument for Jeffrey Conte Arcu because you know for a rookie to come in and still have an impact on this Noah Thorpe defense. I mean, he has definitely stood out in some really key moments and looked phenomenal, which is not easy to do because I'm not saying that Noel is tough on rookies per se, but I mean it's it's a it's a it's a very tough defense to play in, and he's done an outstanding job in that regards. Like he has come in and has not looked out of place. He doesn't look like a rookie. That's what I think. I think as far as a compliment, trying to pay a compliment goes, I think for him to look like he belongs there, it doesn't look out of place. I think speaks to how phenomenal he has been this season. Charleston Rambo, on the other hand, though, really has been the definition of outstanding with a lot of his play. I mean, he's made some absolutely incredible catches, whether it's Davis Alexander or Cody Fajardo or even Dominique Davis throwing him the ball. I mean, the guy has definitely been, you know, a real standout, especially when it comes to this Alouettes defense or when it comes to this receiving core. At one point, we had some phenomenal names in this lineup: Phil Pott, Keon Julian Grant, Reggie White Jr., Tyler Sneed, Cole Speaker. I mean, these have been some true receivers, and Charleston Rambo has stepped into what I had called at the time the Austin Mack spot because Mack was still chasing the NFL dream, and a lot of people look to Charleston Rambo to be basically Austin Mack 2.0. And I can't say with 100% that he has been that, but he has done extremely well in the circumstance. Like, in that spot, so to speak, he has done a pretty solid job. And yeah, dare I say it, outstanding. So I think by the slightest of margins, I would just maybe like by one or two vote. It would be that slim of a margin. I think you would have to give it to Charleston Rambo.
So, are we right?
So what?
Are we wrong? Let
Yeah,
us know what you guys think. So,
yeah. In the comments below, if you're watching this on YouTube, let us know your nominees. Who do you think would be the most outstanding of the positions that we named? Are we right? Are we completely out to lunch? Again, let us know in the comments below. Let us know on whether it's X, Facebook, Instagram. Let us know what you think as well. Let us know what your nominees would be, who you think deserve to get that nod for the Alouettes when it comes to the CFL awards. Let us know. We want to hear what you have to say about this as well.
exactly. Don't forget that we do have the flight deck meetup coming this Thanksgiving Monday. So stay tuned for our socials for any more information. But it is from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Monday. Don't forget to make sure if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you do subscribe and hit the bell button to make sure that see when we go live for potentially a quick show during the event and for Flight Deck Live. If you happen to miss any of those episodes or any of the episodes for the video version or the audio version, you can also catch those over on our YouTube channel. So, Cliff, obviously, it's a fun time of the year. I always love the Thanksgiving Classic. It is our Labor Day, and hopefully, it is the
Mm-hmm.
time where we can feast and get our bellies full and continue the road to the Great Cup playoffs coming up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, you said it best. This is our Labor Day game. Like this is our, even if it's not a rivalry in the same sense as say like the Banjo Bowl or the Labor Day Classics or any of those games. I mean, it's still an event unto itself, and numbers don't lie. This game is sold out this coming Monday, folks. I mean, if you don't have tickets, the only way you're watching this is on TV. But if you do, if that's how you're going to watch it, definitely check it out because once again, you're going to see an absolutely electric atmosphere at Percival Molson Stadium. People are going to come, enjoy some turkey, all the stuffing, all the fixings, all the good stuff. I mean, I agree. It is definitely an absolutely wonderful time of the year that just screams Canadian football too. So if you're coming to the fan meetup, folks, come say hi. Love to see each and every one of you. You get there in plenty of time before the game starts. It's going to be an absolutely incredible event. And I think this game too is going to be an absolutely incredible event as well. And man, I'm excited. I just want to get through the weekend, all the Thanksgiving stuff, and just get right to Monday. Can it be Monday? When was the last time anyone has ever asked for a Monday, right?
Exactly. Well, because the word holiday is before it. Holiday Monday.
True,
So I can't
true.
complain.
I don't
I
think
can't
I don't think
complain.
like Garfield talks about how much he hates Mondays, but if you put a holiday in front of it, would he hate them a little bit less? Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, stay tuned to all of our socials. Again, we will be back for Flight Deck Live post game, and that will be posted right. That'll be posted coming up very shortly, and it'll be about give or take 4:30ish, 4:45ish. But stay tuned to all of our socials for all that information. So, Cliff, I'm looking forward to seeing you, buddy, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at the meetup coming this Monday. So we'll see you then. So for everybody here at the Alouettes Flight Deck, for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. We're on final approach.